Hello students, in this lecture I will tell you about the interdependence of plants and animals. Firstly, we'll talk about the dependence of animals on plants. So how animals are dependent on plants? They require food that is obtained from plants directly or indirectly. Second, the plants provide shelter for various animals like monkeys, various birds make their nest in trees, so they require shelter. And organisms also require oxygen gas for their respiration, and this oxygen gas is given out by the plants when they are making their food as a byproduct. So this oxygen, so in this way the animals are dependent on plants. Now vice versa, now we will see the dependence of plants on animals. Now we will see how the plants are dependent on animals. The plants dependent on animals, they require carbon dioxide gas for the process of photosynthesis, and carbon dioxide is given up by the human beings or organisms, living organisms or animals during the process of respiration, and they also help in the various animals also help in pollination. They help in pollination. Most of the animals help to pollinate flowers like butterfly, honeybees, bats, etc. And they also help, these animals also help in the seed and fruit dispersal. So these animals also help in the seed and fruit dispersals. Now, next we can also talk about that the excreta or the dead bodies of living organisms or animals, they are also very helpful for the plants, because the excreta contains the nutrients. When they are broken down by the decomposers, they will get added to the soil as a humus. So it makes the soil fertile. So it helps in the fertility of the soil. What? They make the humus. The excreta of animals make the soil fertile. So in this way, the plants and animals are interdependent on each other. Now we will see the types of interdependence. Types of interdependence. Types of interdependence means living organisms are interdependent in many ways. So these different ways are symbiosis. Second is parasitism. And the third is predation. So these are the different types of interdependence which the organism show. First is symbiosis. First relationship is a symbiosis. Symbiosis is a relationship between two organisms in which both the organisms benefit each other. So this is the relationship between, symbiosis is the relationship between the two organisms in which both the organisms benefit each other. So, symbiotic is the relationship between the two organisms, and in this, both two organisms, they are benefited with each other. One is benefited by the other and the other is benefited by the first one. So, if we take the example of lichen, lichen is the association of two organisms. Here, there is an association of algae and fungi. So, if we see, this lichen is the association of algae and fungi. So, they both benefit each other. Here, fungus provides protection, water, minerals to the alga, and in return, alga provides food to the fungus. So, it will provide food for fungus, and fungus will provide what to algae? It provides protection, water and mineral. It provides protection, water, mineral to alga. So in this way, they are helpful for each other. The next example, we can take the rhizobium bacteria with the leguminous plant. The next example, we can take the association between the rhizobium with rhizobium is a bacteria. Rhizobium with leguminous plants. So this is the association of rhizobium bacteria with the leguminous plants. Here, what the rhizobium bacteria fixes the atmospheric nitrogen and converts into nitrates, and this nitrate is used by the leguminous plants. And what leguminous plants do for rhizobium bacteria? They provide food, shelter for this rhizobium bacteria. These bacteria, rhizobium bacteria, lives in the root nodules of leguminous plants like this. These are the nodules. So here these bacteria lives and fixes the atmospheric nitrogen so as to convert into nitrates, and these nitrates are taken up by the roots, and in return they provide food and shelter to this rhizobium bacteria. Leguminous plants like pea, and you can talk about gram, moong. So these bacteria lives in these plants root nodules. Now the second type of interdependence is parasitism. Parasitism is another type of interdependence. It is a relationship between the two organisms. It is also the relationship between the two organisms in which only one organism is benefited. In which only one organism is benefited. So in this type of parasitism or relationship, the one organism is benefited by the another organism. The organisms may be benefited in the form of food, or they can get shelter from the other organisms. The organisms that gets the benefit is called parasite. The organisms which get the benefit is called the parasite, and the organism from which benefit is obtained, like parasite is obtained benefit from the another organisms, and those organism or that organism is called as host. So here this parasitism is the relationship between the two organisms in which one organism is benefited by the other organism. The organism that gets benefit in the form of food, shelter or anything else, then these organisms are called parasites, and the organisms from which the benefit is obtained, then those organisms are called as host. And here we can take the example of tapeworm. We can take the example of tapeworm, which lives in the intestines of human beings. So here human beings are acting as host and tapeworm is acting as parasites. Then human lice that also suck the blood of human beings. So this is acting as a parasite and human beings are the host. Now if we take another example of cuscuta. So cuscuta is also a non-green plant. So it derives its ready-made food from the host. So these are the few examples to that show the parasitism relationship. So now the third type of interdependence is predation. Third type of relationship or interdependence relationship is predation. So predation is also a type of relationship between a larger organisms and the smaller organism. It is also the relationship between the larger organisms. It is a relationship between the larger organisms and smaller organisms. So what happened here? In this, the larger organisms attacks, kills and feeds on the smaller organisms. Again, here the organisms that attacks is called as predator. So this is the predator. The organism that attack on smaller organism for their food, they are called as predator. And the smaller organisms that are attacked or killed by these predators are called prey. So these are the smaller, they are getting attacked. They get attacked by the predators. These are the smaller organisms and these are the bigger. They kill, attack and feeds upon the smaller organism. So here we have seen the interdependence. The type of interdependence means there are three types of relationship. First relationship we have seen this symbiosis. Symbiosis means the relationship between the two organisms in which both the organisms gets benefited by each other. Next we have seen the parasitism. Parasitism means the relationship between the two organisms in which only one is benefited by the other organisms. One is called parasites and from which they obtain the benefit. Those organisms are called as host. The third we have seen the predation. It is also a kind of relationship, but in this, two organisms are involved in which the bigger or larger organisms, if we take the example of lion, tiger, leopard, so these are the bigger animals. So these attacks, kills and feeds on the smaller one, and the smaller one are called prey, which are getting attacked by these predators. So this is all about the types of interdependence.